What up, Buckeye Nation? Welcome to the Buckeye Boys, where we talk about college football with real fans. I'm Devin, that's Melo, and I am pumped tonight to introduce Mr. and Mrs. Sanchez. How y'all doing tonight?
We're good.
Doing good.
Good. How are you guys?
We're doing
Doing
well.
good. Not that y'all need an introduction whatsoever, might I add. I'm sure all of Buckeye Nation knows who you guys are. So, parents of Devin Sanchez, the number one corner in the nation, an absolute baller out there, somebody that's going to join the Buckeyes and take us to an even higher level at BIA. So, we are stoked, man, excited.
Absolutely.
So, just wanted to start off and ask, um, you know, me and Mello are very passionate about recruiting. So there's a couple sides of it. You got the side of we love the Buckeyes, so we love to see good players come to the Buckeyes. And then you got the other side of it that, um, when you care about kids. So I was telling you guys before the show that, I ran a ministry called Teen Challenge that kind of it helps teenagers and it helps adults that are going through struggles in life. So I always love when I see, young men achieving in life and doing the right thing. But behind those young men or teenagers are always a good support system. That's either parents or loved ones and stuff. So it's awesome to see y'all be his support system and show him a correct path to go about things. So that path has been football, man, and I love to see it. So how has football been an impact in y'all's lives? Like, when did that start? Did it start in your guys' childhoods? Daniel, did you play football? Deetra, were you a fan of football growing up, or how did that come about in y'all's family?
I guess I'll start. Obviously, I came up playing ball where my hometown, Galveston, Texas, and just kind of what you said is kind of it is kind of a way of life where I come from. It's where I'm from. It's a community of either you play ball or you get into other kinds of sports. Some that may not be the right kind of thing to get into. So I mean, it was a huge thing for me. As far as coming up, it's opportunities. To do things with yourself that other guys don't get a chance to do. It gives you an opportunity to see things, when you're, from that little small island down in the Gulf, that you may not have, been able to see before. So, I mean, ball was a huge thing for me. Being able to, get myself up and, make something of myself.
Yeah, and for me, I was never really a huge football fan. I watched it, but I was into other sports. So I think once my boys got into it, it's something that I had to kind of become passionate about because it was something that really just was everyday life for us. From my oldest son when he was 9, and Devin was about 3. So from then, it's just been a part of our lives.
Yeah, so that brings up an interesting thing that I actually found out. So you used to be a youth coach for Dylan, right?
Yes. That's unique situation. Wasn't something that I intended to get into. They looking back on that, they were in a bad situation with the ball club that we actually went to. They went through a couple coaches before I had initially kind of finished up that year. It was pretty rough, and just really felt bad for that group of kids. Just not having somebody just be there for them. They were a group of 9-year-olds. It was pretty tough situation for them. So I kind of jumped into that thing, and we finished out that year. We ended up winning a couple games out of the couple that we had left. And then we, hit that summer hard and got ready for the next year. And that's kind of when I kind of got into it as well.
That's pretty awesome. So I read you were bringing 3-year-old Devin with you, and he used to jump in at the end with the sprints.
Yeah.
Can you tell everybody? I really want to know how it felt because I'm not sure anybody knows this. I didn't know it, and I've been following your family for a while, and I just think it's insane what I saw. They said at 3 he was beating all the 9-year-olds in sprints.
Probably not all of them, but yeah, he was there. Yeah,
Man,
and
that is not normal. So as parents, what were you thinking? Because you're not only are you the coach, but you're also the parent. So I know you had to have a little bit of pride, but at the same time, you gotta like not show it all in front of all the kids. But what was your first thought when you saw that?
Not surprised, because he's always been busy. He's always was into something. If I mean, there's some stories we could tell, but Devin was always, he's always been competitive. He's always competed with his older brother. He's always, wrestled with his older brother. So he's always, for him to get out there and actually want to beat them, because he wanted to play, but he couldn't play. So that was a way for him to actually get involved and be a part of it. Dad's out there coaching, brothers playing. So he was able to kind of get involved and be a part of it before he could actually really be a part of it. So not surprised at all.
Yeah, he's literally he's grown up in a huddle.
Yeah,
that is, and to me, it just blows my mind. I'm sorry, I think that's
He used to even throw the football he would throw the football like down the field and go catch it. That's how cool. Much he wanted to really play. He would go catch his own footballs.
Dude. Well, so I was a middle child, and I was all about basketball, right? So like I went to college, played basketball, and just was obsessed with basketball. But that came from my older brother. So I was always playing AAU ball up to grade levels and always playing with my brother's friends. So, it just pushed me to get better and better and better. So it sounds like y'all have been a very solid support group for Devin, giving him the right direction. But there's another piece to this thing that, I didn't realize how much it was. And that's Devin's older brother being able to push him and be alongside him the whole time and give him a good example as well. So speak to that relationship a little bit. Like, how was that, those two growing up? Did Devin always look up to his older brother and see him out there playing ball, doing good things, and just wanting to achieve at that level?
I would, in a way, yes, only because, he was watching his brother and they would come home and Dad was really hard on them. And sometimes I would have to tell him to like back off a little bit, but to watch, because they're two totally different kids. So if you've ever seen Dylan and Devin, Dylan was a lineman and Devin was, is a skill player. So it was really different. So we have to kind of like make Dylan, kind of pull Dylan back, because Dylan's always been the biggest kid in the room. Right. And Devin has always been this little skinny kid. So Devin always thought he could beat up on Dylan, but it was always this huge size difference. So, but to watch them, I know a lot of Devin's passion came from watching his brother and learning from what he went through, and watching him grow in football, and watching the dad and coach relationship between Dylan and Daniel. So it also helped him learn what to do and what not to do, because Daniel was still learning with coaching and teaching Dylan. So with Dylan being a lineman, it was kind of hard for Daniel to kind of go into that mode because he was a cornerback. So so to watch the two of them, it was totally, different. It was different. It was not as if they could really do the same things, but their relationship growing and, with Dad as coach has been, a great thing to watch.
I think the biggest thing that Dylan, kind of helped with it, as far as, with Devin's progression is, being able to see, how hard it was for his older brother, to be able to, get things done, how much work he had to put in, the time he had to put in to be able to do it, the preparation and all that. I think, that is really what kind of helped Devin, get prepared for this thing, is seeing how much you have to kind of put into it just to be a good player, not even a great guy yet.
So I have a question. I don't know if you saw Kirby Smart. I think it was about 3 weeks ago. He was complaining about how the development in the youth level has declined drastically. And as a coach, what's your opinion on what Kirby said? Is there any substance to that, or is he just making up excuses because they're struggling a little bit right now?
No, I think I talk about this a lot with other guys that I know are in ball. I think he's absolutely right in that regard, and I think it starts at certain levels. I think it starts at the little league level, and it's trickled its way into the high school levels. And it's the easiest way I can put it is on the offensive side. I think is where it's lacking the most. Quarterback play is where it's lacking the most. And I think that's specifically, to one thing. I think it's just the screen and bomb kind of mindset that guys have as far as calling offenses. I think right now these quarterbacks are not being developed. They're because of that mindset. I think that's all they're throwing is that screen and that bomb, and that's all they know how to read. They get that one read, and that's all they do. I think the seeing the field, being able to go through your progressions, I think that is lost right now in the high school game, especially. And I think that's why these guys come in and they get to that next level and they're just not ready to play.
I think I've watched Daniel develop kids that parents had no idea, what position they play. Everybody wants their kid to be a quarterback. And it's funny because we look back on a lot of the kids that played with Dylan and then also played with Devin in Little League that Daniel coached. And when mom was like, they wanted them to be a running back or quarterback. No, he's a lineman. And guess what those kids are doing now? They're linemen, or they are in that position. Whatever position he put them in, that's pretty much where they are now. Very few of them are not. So I watched him, develop these kids. And I've watched kids. We've been to a few Little League games, but watched that social media has really blown these kids' heads up to think that all they have to do is get a following and get somebody to like it. But there is no development anymore. No one's teaching these kids the drills. I've seen kids go to camps and not even know how to do cone drills. So I think it does start at Little League. And I watched my husband, break down the smallest things that kids were not being taught that they're using now, in high school. And so I definitely think that a lot of stuff is getting lost in translation. And I think a lot of people think, I'll use Devin as an example. Devin works hard. Devin goes out and he's always working. He's on them all the time. Sometimes I have to say, hey, back off a little bit, give him a break. But no one's taking their craft and studying it. And everybody thinks it's just handed to Devin. No, right. Devin worked for it. And I feel like everything that he's worked for, he deserves. So I definitely agree with what Kirby Smart was saying. There's a lot of lacking that social media has hyped these kids up to think they're better than what they really are. And even Devin, you're going to always have to continue to work because there's always somebody that's looking to outdo you and be better than you. So if you're not working and the next person is, they're coming for you.
Yeah. I always played sports, and I know that, my dad always my dad was a very high-end wrestler in school, and he always tried to instill discipline into my life in regards to sports. So, that's a huge part of it. And because you can only get by so long with your natural ability, and a lot of times in high school, that's plenty good enough. If you have the natural ability of, let's say, your son, Devin, that's going to get you pretty far in high school, but there's that next level of that discipline and surrounding yourself with the correct people that are going to show you the correct things to do and have the knowledge to do it. So, that's one thing. Cause like I said, me and Melo are passionate about recruiting. So we follow it. I'm following 2028 recruiting right now. You know what I mean? I go watch these kids' videos. I'm just I never even played football. It's just a passion I have now. So I'm into it. So, along those same regards, kind of a two-parter here. Obviously, Devin plays corner now, but with his skill sets that he has and just his pure athleticism, I'm sure he played a lot of positions growing up, or maybe I'm wrong there. But when did he kind of start drifting in that area of specifically honing in his skills at corner? And then at what age did you guys think or see that, hey, Devin could be a top 5 player in the nation?
I'll take this. I don't want to sound a kind of a certain way. Day one. Day one is when we started with the corner work. I'm a former corner myself. So, I mean, kind of threw him out there with it, and then I would say really early after his first flag season. Kind of took him out and just kind of wanted to see some things. And what I recognized right off bat, being a former guy myself, he had a couple things that I didn't have. He had natural hips, and he had what I would say is the desire to catch the ball in the air. Right. I just didn't have that. He had a natural ability to track the ball, something I didn't have. So I saw that right away. And so, funny story, we just kind of talk about this all the time. When he was a young kid, I was a bad quarterback to him. But what he didn't realize was dad was seeing if we could go and catch balls that weren't actually thrown at you. So, I mean, like I say, it was day one, really. And that was really what we were working for. And, the second part of the question, with it being day one, we've been expecting to be here. This is kind of what we've been working for. That's, we've been fortunate enough to be, in the, what some people would call the best state to put out football in the biggest city. And we happen to go to one of the, premier schools in the country. So, I mean, everything's just kind of, lined up for us to be able to show that, we are, what some of the people, from the outside think we are. But, we just, I like to always say, we just kind of keep our head down and, keep working at things and, try not to listen to what people say and, just kind of go from there.
For me, I watched Daniel put him at quarterback. Kickoff return, whatever Devin, wherever he could put him, Devin was there. So I really didn't know that it was going to happen this way. And when things started to kind of take a turn to him being ranked and him being number one, for me, we went to a camp when Devin was in the 8th grade, going to 9th grade, went to Texas for camp. And I watched Devin hold some of the seniors that were getting ready to come out, that they were prospects that they were looking at. And I watched him, really show what a corner could do. So that's when I knew. I was like, okay, something's happening here. I didn't know that it was going to be to this level. But like Daniel said, I've watched it happen. And I'm extremely, grateful because it surprises me. It even brings me, it gets me emotional because he's handled it so well. And I watched a lot of judgment from outside. Again, we've been accused of being, we've paid for this. You would be surprised at some of the things that people have said. We're just ordinary people. We go to work every day. We raise our kids, but our kids are the most important thing to us. So we pour into them as if, we want somebody else to, if we were not around. So we give them wholeheartedly, all of us. So to watch it happen, it's been a blessing.
To be fair, technically they're not wrong. I mean, you have to pay fees to play football and pay for the training. So
that's true. But they say we pay you guys and coaches. That's what they do.
Yeah, exactly.
We pay for stars and all like that stuff.
The proof's in the pudding, man. You go watch his film. I mean, that's, Daniel, you brought it up. Like when I watch his film, the way the dude can track the ball in the air is just, it's at a whole different level, man. So proof's in the pudding, man. Get on the field and make it happen. And that's what he's doing. I mean, we just saw his 102-yard kickoff return. I was just watching that. I'd probably watch it like 5 times. That's insane. I want to know who shot the video. That was a very good video. Who was right there on the sideline doing that? Was that one of y'all, or was that somebody on the team?
It was somebody. Surprisingly, there's so many people that come into town just to watch him, or they, get passes. So, to be honest, one of them, the one that was on YouTube, was of course from the live screen, streaming of the show of the game. I'm not sure. I thought it was his trainer. But I think that he left. So I don't know who it was that sent it to him that happened to be there. So, I mean, it was a great shot. And I'm surprised he didn't look in the camera because he normally knows where they are. So, that's
he's too busy running. He's too busy running. Like, I'm out of here.
It kind of shocked us because we were just talking. Normally they kick to him or they don't kick to him. So normally, to watch him actually run the whole 102 yards, it was amazing.
Yeah, because he probably hasn't had too much action this season. Because I'm sure if I'm a QB and I see, I'll take it 2 ways. If you're a QB, I might challenge him if I'm trying to get some offers. Like, look where I could put the ball. but at the same time, you're probably going to lose the game doing that. So
that's what I said I said that there's one or two things. Your quarterback either doesn't believe in your receiver or your quarterback believes in what Devin's capable of doing.
yeah,
It's one of the two things. And he hasn't had any action. He's gotten to the point where he's like, I'm bored. I need
believe it.
I need, so he just had to get out there and be physical and do his part and just make sure there's no balls thrown his way. And for the past 9 games, he hasn't had much action. So
and he is physical. He's like mini Igbinosin out there running wide receivers out of bounds into the sidelines and everything, and it's funny.
Has Devin ever had to wear mittens in practice?
Yes. Yes.
I'm sure all corners do that. That's probably something that that's a training thing to do. But
that's why I'm kind of glad he's doing it now. That way he can kind of get that out of his system. So
for sure.
But they're grabby. That's what corners do. They're very grabby.
Oh, yeah.
So you just have to kind of watch it a little bit.
Yeah. Well, to move on a little bit from things, obviously, y'all are committed to the Buckeyes. I couldn't be more excited about that. I'm stoked about it. I know Melo is too.
Oh yeah.
I know Melo's got a question for you guys along the lines of like how the recruiting went and stuff. So we'll move it along to that. I'll turn it over to Melo.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering because I'm actually going through the recruiting process with my own daughter. So like I asked Kenyatta Jackson Sr. this question as well, just because it helps me with her process.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of the recruiting, when did it start and how did you help him navigate it? And how did you ultimately decide that Ohio State was the right fit for your family and for your son?
Recruiting started early for Devin. It started pretty much right after his freshman season. Kind of the main theme for us has always kind of been relationships.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the gist of what we're doing. So what that means is we're looking for programs, people who have an interest in our child first, and understanding what it is that we're looking for as a family for our child. And so that's kind of where we started things off at, and just kind of understanding that we're not looking for somebody to baby our kid, but we are in the case of Devin, we were looking for somebody who was going to take our son and turn him into the man that we were expecting him to be after all of these these things. So that's why I would say that was the biggest start for us. That's what we were looking for when that was the most important things that we were looking for.
Okay.
Yeah, I would agree, but we did go into this with a list of what we were going to accept and what we were not going to accept and tolerate. So again, relationship was huge for us. Continued development, because I feel like we've done our part,
Right.
and we wanted to make sure that once our kid left us, I never wanted to have any sleepless nights, wondered if my kid is okay, if he's safe. I never wanted to get a phone call from somebody other than the coach that something has happened. So those were things that I just kind of sat back and watched whenever we went somewhere, how kids interacted with the coaches, what their relationships were like. So that was really, big for us. So sitting back and watching coaches at different, schools was very important for us, because I wanted to make sure that wherever I was sending my son, I just wanted to make sure that he was good. And that whenever that he called me, he was never, unhappy. So
Right.
we took these 3 years and just sat back and watched, because if you watch long enough, people will show you who they are. So
Right.
we just sat and we just watched how people, moved throughout the whole process, and made sure that it wasn't about, the stars. How can you continue development for Devin? Because at this point, we've got him, Daniel's gotten him to where he is now. How do we get him to the next level? How do we continue to get him to elevate? If you can't continue to elevate him, then that's a problem for us.
Yeah.
Right.
From a fan's perspective, you always see things in the news, you hear people's opinions and stuff like that. So y'all are parents, and I couldn't think of better people to ask this question to, but it's kind of a two-parter again. But when you see things, I'm not going to use a specific school, but when you see things in the news about like players getting in trouble at different schools, would that impact you guys as parents, or is each case an individual basis? I mean, I'm sure I want to say the obvious answer is yes. You know what I mean? If you keep seeing players getting in trouble, but how would that impact you guys? And then my next question is, does a program that's struggling on the field, what kind of impact does that have from a parent's perspective on wanting to send your kid to that school?
I'm going to say the last one first, because that's the easiest. If they're struggling on the field, then we're not even looking at that.
Gotcha.
I mean, we want to play winning ball. We want to be in great situations. We want to move on to the next level. And if you're struggling on the field, those things just aren't going to happen for you as a program. So we're gonna move on to the next thing for that. I would say on the first question, I think you have to take things on an individual basis, right? So, I mean, sometimes these schools are taking chances on players that they know have questionable histories or come from questionable backgrounds, right? So in certain situations, when you see a guy get in trouble and that guy has a history of getting in trouble, you can't really blame that on the school so much, because that's just that guy. But then you do have to kind of turn around and take that look and say, you know what, hey, that school did bring in that guy who everybody knew had that reputation. So, it's a two-way street with that. I think you do have to kind of take the individual into account, but you also kind of have to look at these programs too when it starts to be habitual.
For me, I also watched the kids that were there at the school. So again, whenever we were there, I always just let Devin go and do what he needed to do, and I just sat back and I watched how who the kids were, how they interacted with the coach, their demeanor towards us, because we're families. We're going to all be one big family. So when I see you, how you interacting with me. So like he said, it's a culture. So if that's what you're bringing in, that's why it's a process. The whole recruiting thing is a process, and you cannot just one day decide, I want this school. If you haven't spent time there at that school and watching what they're doing, how do you know that's where you want to be? How do you know that you're going to be comfortable there? That's why we went to these schools as many times as we did, because I needed to see you when the lights were turned on, not when you were showing me all the glitz and glam. I wanted to see what it was like when there was nobody else around and what was happening, not with all the partying. So that's why, again, while we were at Ohio State as many times as we did, because when Devin decided that that's where he wanted to go, I needed to make sure. I needed to sit down and make sure that Coach Day is, who Coach Day says he is, not what everybody else says, what the media says. Who is this? Who is Coach Day when I sit down and talk to him? Is he the same person every time I see him? What about Coach Walton? Those things were important to me. So I think that when schools don't take the time, and kids as well, but when schools don't take the time to get to know these kids and where they come from and actually pour it into them, because sometimes you can turn that around if they come from a troubled background. But my kids also know that if you don't go and do what you're supposed to be doing, I'm going to be there, and I don't care how old you get. Yes. I'm coming, because that's not. We put a lot into you, and so have these, whatever school he chose to go to at the time. These people are taking a chance on you, so don't waste that opportunity. And that was very important for my kids to know that, and they know. You can ask them any day that, will Mama come? Yes, she will.
Hey, we need to get you in the locker room involved with some of those halftime speeches. I'm stoked right now. You got me jacked up. Hey, so to bring up, again, this is a perspective thing. Like I said, me and Melo are very interested in these kind of things. So I would love to get y'all's opinion on where college football recruiting is going in regards to NIL and the transfer portal. And, it's not necessarily like the thing. It's not that NIL is bad. I don't think it is. It's what you do with. It's kind of like the internet, right? The internet's a beautiful thing, and everybody's like, it's crazy. It's not the tool. It's what you do with the tool that decides whether it's good or bad. So, what both y'all's opinions on NIL and the transfer portal in today's recruiting?
I think
He saw me knee him like I'm going first.
Yeah, no,
No, go ahead.
yeah, I personally, I think what we see today is kind of, I would call it kind of the wild, wild west right now. And as far as the way NIL is going, I don't think what we see today is going to be around very long. Where I think it's going, I think it's going to go to more of an NFL type of system. I think you're going to have like a salary cap type of system. I think that's where it's eventually going to go to, and I think it's going to be sooner than later, personally.
Mm-hmm.
Going into this personally, just to piggyback off what Daniel said, a lot of it is, and I think you guys may have heard me, read something that I've said, that kids and families have to, and I know that NIL is what it is. It can help families, it can change families, but it can also destroy things, because if you're looking at NIL only, when you're getting there, you have not vetted this school. You have not found out if this is the right school for you. How do you fit in that room? Those things were the most important. NIL was going to come regardless wherever Devin went, because of who he had become. So we just always wanted to make sure that that was not the main focus. And I think that it has really tainted the waters. I mean, the water is dirty and very murky right now, because I think that that's what everybody is shopping around for. No one is actually sitting back and saying, is this the right place for me? And I'm going to get the money. They're going to talk NIL anyway. So right. I think that, like Daniel said, eventually they're going to have to cap it, because people are just shopping around just for that. I'm going to go to Ohio State and see what they're offering. Now I'm going to go to the next school for that official visit to see what they're offering and tell them, oh, they're going to offer me this. And we just were not willing to play that game, because I just think that it's a dangerous game to play. But on the other side of it, everybody knows that that's the game that everyone's playing. So everybody's just playing along. So At what point does people say, you know what? This is not going to work for us, because next year it's going to be the same thing. You're going to be on the phone with someone else trying to hit the portal, because now I can shop myself and say, okay, I want more money. I just didn't want it to be like that for us. I just wanted it to be strictly about football and strictly about, continued education. And those were the things that's why we were just like, we're not going to talk NIL. Do not talk to my son about NIL. And we made it clear to him, if it came up, talk to my parents, because I never wanted to be anyone saying they said something to my son, but didn't say it to us. That's why we were really clear about, if it's anything that's adult related, you need to talk to my parents, because the kids are so easily influenced these days. And this kid doesn't have a couple $100,000 in his pocket. So of course he's, eyes wide open for that. So we have to just, really take these kids in and help them understand that everybody's going to tell you what they think you want to hear. Yeah. And then when you get there, that's why so many of them like, you told me I was going to get this, and now I'm not getting it. If you weren't with your hand out to begin with, then I think things would have been a little bit different if you'd have just taken the time out, because that stuff is going to come to you anyway.
Right.
Stop looking for the easy payday.
And to be honest, you picked the right place, because Columbus is the fastest growing city in America. A lot of businesses there. So it's a lot of untapped and unlimited earning potential there. Even when they do probably go to revenue sharing, you still will be able to.
I never thought we'd be going to Columbus. Never.
Yeah,
I did not.
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, I got my family's from Cincinnati. I had an aunt and an uncle, 2 aunts and an uncle that graduated from Ohio State. And Columbus I just went up there last March for a soccer camp, ID camp for my daughter. Mm-hmm. It's completely different. Like, it's night and day from what it used to look like. I was like, wow, this is not what it looked like.
Every time we've gone, every time we visit, we have a good time. Mm-hmm. We find a new spot. We enjoy. We have a list of places that we want to go and visit. So we're very proud of his decision.
Absolutely. Are you guys going to go visit Roosters again? Get some more chicken wings?
Well, Devin says no.
Yes, Melo, that's no. Beautiful.
But I'd like to give him another shot. I'd like to give him another shot.
That's funny.
I'd like to give him another shot.
That was the funniest thing I ever saw. Him and Naeem was on Bermology.
Yeah,
Berm
that's
is
he's
sponsored
like,
by Rooster.
that's
Yeah,
why
there's
they,
lots of
he's
They're
sponsors.
really,
like, hold
Yeah.
up,
he's
you
really
know?
serious about his wings, and when the wings are messed up, but he's used
Uh,
to one thing, so he just has to. It's hard to get
that's
him to
great.
try things, though.
Hey, so being from Texas, just out of curiosity, this is kind of a fun question. 4 years ago, what college would you have chosen Devin to go to? Where would you think he would have went, if you can even answer that? You might not be able to, but I'm just curious.
Alabama.
Alabama. Okay. All right. That's interesting. Hey, so we're going to move on to like the state. I want to get y'all's opinions on the team this year, but I got one more question about Nil. And we can pass on it if you would like. But you always hear in the news about all these crazy situations and offers, and some of them are just unbelievable. Some of them, I think people are trolling and just making up numbers. But do you guys have a time, or, no names or schools or anything like that, but are some of those stories true? Is this just getting out of control with offers and people just straight up trying to just offer such big numbers to kids that they can't say no?
It's true.
It is.
It's true.
Yeah. It's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
That's
If
wild,
you're
man.
the right guy with the right name, it's true.
Yeah.
That's why I'm very again, it goes back to having that relationship with your kid, and making sure that your kid understands that people are going to tell you anything, but you don't have to fall for it. And the one thing that my kids have always known is that we don't play about them. So if you're going to say something to my kid, I need you to be able to say it to me. So, and a lot of times I need you on speakerphone and I'm listening. You may not even know that I'm listening, but I'm listening to the conversation. So anytime my kid feels uncomfortable, you need to talk to my mom and dad about that. So my kids, they've been groomed to know that if you're not comfortable with that conversation, that means you shouldn't be having it. And so we've made it clear to tell, even adults, we always say, flip it. Take your coach's hat off. If you were, as a parent, would you be okay with a strange man calling your son or daughter and having this conversation that you're having with mine? If your answer is no, then don't do it. Yeah. That's what we've always said. So if you can't have that conversation, if someone can't have that conversation with your kid and you're not okay with it, don't do it to mine. Right. So we've stood by that, and people have respected it. So we've gotten the phone calls, or he'll make them, hey, call them, and they call, and it's gotten crazy, and we've had to are we really talking about this right now?
Yeah. For sure. Y'all need to start a recruiting mentoring service, it sounds like. Because we need to get that list that you guys have printed off and handed out to all these parents. Because I'm sure
people have to believe it, though. We can say it because we've had this conversation. We've had people tell us, like, y'all full of it.
Yeah. You
guys aren't doing that. There's no way y'all are doing that. Because everyone else is doing it, they think that, we are. Sometimes there are people that are not chasing those things because we firmly believe that. He always says we're chasing the NFL, not the NIL. There's a difference.
I like that. Dude. That needs to go on a shirt.
He's going to get the NIL regardless. It don't
exactly.
Matter.
He's going to if he goes and do what he's supposed to do, it's going to come. So just be patient.
I always take myself back to, dude, if I was a high schooler and somebody offered me $200,000, it wouldn't have been good. You know what I mean? Yeah. It just would not have been good. So that's awesome to hear that y'all are involved like that and teach him the proper way to handle those situations, stuff like that. You got to have that example, so that's a beautiful thing to hear. But Melo, you got any more questions about the recruiting side of things and stuff like that?
No, I'm good here. I want to get to the current team
get them
and their thoughts on that. So what's your perspective of the team this year? What do you see them finishing? And what is your thoughts on BIA, the actual room itself?
I'll start with BIA. I think it is what it is. Like I say, those guys say it's not a slogan. I think, the guy they got in the room, who's head in the room, is really pushing and working to get those guys to really earn that title. You know, and I think they have guys in the room, you know, who can fit that bill, right? You know, I think they got the kind of guys in the room that are those players. You know, so again, you know, we really we love the team, you know, personally. We always kind of say that, you know, Ohio State, you know, really mirrors North Shore in just the way that they kind of go about their business. You know, don't take it any kind of way. You know, they're very similar in the fact that, you know, the way that we see it, they can't do anything right. They you know, excuse the way I put it, they can beat a team's ass by 100 and they're still not happy it wasn't 102. You know, or they can win that game by 2 points, and you know that team wasn't any really that good. So they're always in a spot to where I feel like they can't really win, but they continue to win. You know, and you know that's all they can do. You know, I love the way they kind of go about their business. You know, they squeak out tough games. I think that stuff is important. Yeah, you want to have the flashy wins. You do want to step all over people's necks, but I think there's something to the games where you squeak out those one score games. I think that builds something, especially for the later end. So I think that's kind of where they are right now. I really think they got everything that everybody said they had, and you know, prior to the season starting. You know, is it perfect right now? No, it's not, but they're still winning. And I think, you know, people should be happy with that. You know, they're right there in the conversation for it. You know, they lost to the number one team in the country by a point in their backyard. I mean, you can't really be, you know, that upset about that. And I think, you know, they got a lot of ball to play. Just let them finish it out and see where they end up.
Yeah, I really like the room as well. I'm very pleased with Coach Walton, Coach Duhart, and the boys in the room, the young men in the room. You can tell that they like being there. You can't to be there at 7:00 in the morning and those boys are there when we're waiting on our flight to leave. They're wanting to be there. They're wanting to learn. They're hungry to learn. They're, you know, wanting the knowledge, and it makes me want my kid there, because I want him around people that want to continue to grow and that's going to push him and not sugarcoat things for him, because we don't do that here. We're very honest. We're very, I don't like to say cutthroat, but it is what it is, you know. And so watching, I mean, you guys have probably seen my post, watching how they get beat up and, you know, these kids get attacked. You know, my heart goes out to them, the things that they have to deal with. So sometimes I have to take a step back because I go into mama mode and I go into like, you know, protect. So I constantly text, you know, Coach Walter, hey, are these boys okay? You know, or the kids, hey, send them a message. Denzel, you good? IGB, you good? You know, checking on them, because not that they don't have their own families, but you know, in the last year and a half, we've been up there so much. You know, I see them, they're like my babies too. I hug them, and to see them, you know, push so hard to want to win. And like Daniel said, you know, they do so much to be great, but when the fans are tearing you down and you're still not doing enough, that's a lot to have to deal with. But we deal with adversity here at North Shore. So, and the one thing that my son has always told me, which helped me understand him a little bit, he says, I get mad. I get very like protective.
Right.
He's like, Mom, you know, I always knew going into this, if I became who I wanted to be, I knew it was going to be a problem. So he's always been very confident and very just, it is what it is. You know, I knew what came with being who I wanted to be. So he's always helped us understand that even though, you know, Ohio State is going through what they're going through, they still manage to bounce back and have each other's back and be a strong knit unit. And that's been very important. That brotherhood, that word means a lot. And I appreciate that.
I just want to kind of piggyback off what she said, just kind of expounding on that a little bit more. You know, they're treating these young men like, you know, like men. I mean, that's as close to a program as you're going to get. Tim Walton runs that room like it's a pro room. And so, you know, just kind of helping out with the recruiting end on that, you know, George Wood, Some of these guys that, that we're looking to kind of flip in, Malik Autry's, these guys who are still on the fence, to come into this program and, being a part of this thing. Again, can't say it enough, we look at the stats, these guys are putting them out. There's the first rounders everywhere. And I just can't, I don't understand, guys who, say they want to win, say they want to go on to the next level, but they're not taking a serious look at Ohio State. I just don't get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I always tell people, dude, the Buckeyes get 2 number 1 recruits and 1 person that's number 1 corner and the number 1 parents in the class right now. So we appreciate y'all. 2 quick questions before we let y'all go.
Yes.
Number 1, do you see a natty this year for the Buckeyes? And number 2, has the team up north rivalry sunk in yet fully?
Okay, I'm going to answer number 2 first.
Okay.
I don't think it has quite sunk in yet, but I watched it happen, things unfold. So I've kind of taken a step back, but the X's on the M's, I knew it was real then. So yeah.
Will are you guys going to try to make it up for the game?
That's the plan. The only thing is that they're always in the playoffs.
Right.
So they probably are going to play that day after Thanksgiving. So we're trying to figure out how do we get there, because there's no direct flights. Leaving that, getting there before noon. So that's going to be an issue for us. I mean, we would probably have to have a helicopter get us in from the airport to there, but we're working on it. We really want to be there because we said we're going to do 2 games, but the schedules the times are just really, really hard.
I heard that. Yeah, that's a noon game too, Eastern. Yeah. So you guys
Ross,
losing an hour too.
Ross Burek needs to step up, get that helicopter there. That's what I'm saying.
Someone said they're trying to give me a private jet, so I'm waiting to see if that happens.
Yes, he needs to get that PJ there.
Yes, I told they're going to get that for me.
Yeah, just jumping in off what Deetra said. I knew the first time when I saw, say, I'm from a different place, and when you see, certain things over letters, when I saw the X's over the M's, I knew it was real. So, okay, this is on something else. So yeah, that's very serious. And like I say, it's taking that up. We got our own team up north kind of situation that we're dealing with here in Texas as well. So I mean, we've kind of made that our own little thing here at home.
Wait, who, Duncanville?
Yeah, that's our team up north right now. So I mean, that's kind of the way we're looking at that. So yeah, we bought into it.
Yeah.
And how's I meant to ask this before. I'm sorry, Dev, but how is Denzel and IGB? How were they after that game? Were they okay, or were they taking it pretty hard?
From the Oregon game?
Yeah, with the fans and everybody attacking them, which I think is pretty crazy and insane, to be honest with you.
I'm just gonna say this: business as usual. They put their head down, keep going to work.
Yeah,
amen.
I think they recognize that there are a lot of unstable people, and sometimes I think people get behind keyboards and attack, and sometimes it's easy. It's better for you to just step away and take a breath and just not take everything so personal, because you don't know these people, and people put a lot into just being angry. So I think that, again, that goes back to Coach Walton being, hey, we got to get to work. We can't let things like that stop us. I think he does a very good job at keeping everything in line. And that goes back to us saying why we chose Coach Walton. I mean,
I love that. I love to hear that.
Yeah. Well, hey, we are more appreciative than my words could possibly express. We appreciate you guys taking the time out of your day to speak with us. I've always wanted to interview y'all. I know Melo has too. So we always see you guys posting, and I watched your Tim May interview, and I was like, dude, that would be like so awesome to be able to talk to these guys. I could literally sit here for probably 12 more hours and ask y'all questions. So
we can answer them too, because there is so much that we can say.
I know. I see it. I love it. Yeah, y'all are both awesome. Melo, you got any final words before we
let Dev, we need to get Kirsch Design to make a shirt that says belt to ass so we could send it to Devin.
It's-
That was my favorite thing ever, man. That was traveling this
I've
world.
seen they're saying it's BTA. It's BTA
Okay.
now.
All right,
Hey, it's
we'll do
already-
BTA.
Mello, I didn't tell you this yet, Mello, but it's already in the works. So we'll need to get y'all's information, man, and get that sent to you. So
That's
yeah, Mello, any final words to them before
I
we
just
let
want
them
to
go?
say I thank you guys for coming on. You guys are like superstars to us, and especially in the recruiting world. We wish you guys and Devin much success in the playoffs and to get that monkey off the back and go ahead and take care of business against Duncanville. And most importantly, to stay healthy, and we'll be praying for you guys and for him throughout the process. And we can't wait until he gets to Columbus and go ahead and compete for that starting spot.
And we appreciate you guys' support 100%. We really
Absolutely. And tell him he got to go against Optimus Prime day one.
Day
right
one.
there against JJ.
There's film out there of them in 7-on-7. I just
is it?
Yeah,
Really?
Devin and Jeremiah. 2 years
I'm
ago.
gonna have to find that.
Yeah, there's film out there on that.
Yeah,
I gotta find that.
That was right before we left that 7-on-7 tournament. We came to Ohio for the camp. And Jeremiah was like, I need you to commit. I need you to come on to Ohio State. So,
I love that.
Yeah,
that's
awesome.
Well, thank you guys. We appreciate you.
We appreciate it, guys. Really
Yep. Hopefully we can have y'all on again one day. That would be spectacular.
Yeah,
but
of course.
God bless. We appreciate you on that note. Go Buckeyes. OH.
Oh,
wait.
Bye.
Bye.
All righty, we're done recording now. So Mello.
That was the